Welcome back to Guinea Hog Forge. I am Scott McGhee, ABS Master Smith and instructor. This is the second series in a set of videos about getting towards your Journeyman performance knife, the bend knife, the magic bend knife. The first video we did was a real short one on nomenclature and to get you used to me. So the next one is going to be on things that you have to have and things you might want to have and things you don't really need to have at this point. Now, as time goes by, a lot of these things change. Some of them do not, but a lot of them do. A lot of them change over time from your own personal point of view. Like behind me, you don't need any of that. Not now, not yet. You may want it, but that's not a need, okay? Your needs are much more basic. And we're gonna do this and as we go. So this is the needs that you're going to have to begin forging your knife. So, first things first, number one, eye and ear protection. Do not be me. I'm half deaf from growing up around heavy equipment and guns and helicopters and what I do now and chainsaws. So anyway, don't be me. Wear your hearing protection, wear your eye protection. Next thing that we've got to have a hammer. It does not need to be a fancy hammer. As Dale Moore says, it's just a piece of steel on the end of a stick. It does not need to be a cross peen. This one is a cross peen, doesn't need to be. It can just be a standard old drilling hammer. But anyway, this is what I use. I've used fancier hammers in the past. They did not do anything magic that this hammer doesn't do just as well. Next is a collection of tongs. And you do need a collection of tongs. You need something like this, a pickup set of wolf jaws, something like this. I like a long set because when I'm quenching, I know that I want to be as far away from the quenching as I can when I quench, because if there is a fire, it gets me further away from the fire. The next thing is sets of offset tongs. These are offset for a reason, so that you can hold the steel in different places and you can reach in and grab it and hold it away from you. The way they work is you reach in and you can grab the steel and it's got the steel and it doesn't move around, and since you can grab it in different places, it can make it easier for you to control the steel in your tongs. Now, this is slightly out of order, but while we're here, the other thing you've got to have is steel. You can forge all you want, you can practice all you want in mystery steel, but for your bend knife, you're going to put so much work in it, so much effort. For God's sake, please do not go start with a lawnmower or a piece of steel that Bob down the road brought you and said, here, this is at the plant and it's really hard and I know it'll make a good knife. It might be great, it might be the perfect knife steel, but it is not the perfect knife steel for this, because you need to know what that steel is going to do when you heat treat it, all right? This particular piece is a piece of 80 CRV2, 1/4 by 1.5 by 48. There's 3 or 4 suppliers you can get it at. I don't know the difference between any of them. 80 CRV2 is a good choice, 1075 is a good choice, 5160 is a good choice. But you need to pick a steel and buy that steel. These three are pretty simple, pretty easy. I think you'll find success with one of these three. All right. You've got to have something to measure with because you've got to fit into the boundaries of the size of the knife. There are very specific rules about the size of the knife. That is it from what you can see from the cold section. We're getting ready to go out to the hot section in just a minute for forging alone. Now, there are a few things that are going to make your life easier. And those are things like a layout block. This is a bigger, nicer layout block than you need. You don't need this. This is not necessary for what you're going to do. Right over here is a countertop cutout that I dumpster dive for and got for free. And it does everything I need, everything that I needed all the way up through Mastersmith. I didn't really have a nice layout block till after I got to Mastersmith, and I found a used one and I got it. But that right there is plenty enough for what we need right now. Now, what do you use them for? One of the things that you've got to do for this knife, or you need to do this knife, is make sure that it is straight and in the center, okay? And when you forge it, especially when you start out, it's going to be very hard to determine what is straight and in the center. And you can do it by eye. You can learn to do it by eye. You can learn to see straight. This one's got a wave in it, but it's never been normalized or anything else. This one's got a wave in it, but I think it's straight enough to check. The next thing you need is something called a height gauge. You do not need a fancy one. They get very expensive. The most important part is this part right here, and that is that this is carbide. You want this part to be carbide because it will stand up to continuous use or long-term use, scratching against hardened steel and steel with scale on it. So how do you use this? You slide it down, you get the height, the thickness of your ricasso. This one's right at 260, so I'm gonna slide it off, and I'm gonna come down to 130, which is half of 260. I'm gonna lock it. I'm gonna hold the knife down by the ricasso in a spot here on the spine, and I'm gonna trace around the knife. I'm gonna flip it over, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna trace around the knife. Might as well do the spine too. And what that does is that tells you right now that all of this knife is straight enough that you're inside the knife. It's not so crooked that you have a wave that you can't get back straight, all right? And so it removes doubt. It is a wonderful tool and the most evil creature that you have ever run across in your entire life, because it doesn't care what you think is straight. It is showing you what is straight. But it's incredibly valuable. You don't have to have it for your bend knife, but I don't know how I'd have made it through my Journeyman without it. The next thing is this set of calipers. You need a set of calipers because as we go on, I'm going to tell you specific thicknesses that I want to be forged to and to grind to. And that's my goal anyway. So right now, this one is at 85 thousandths at the point. I mean, here at the choil. And it is at 110 thousandths at the point. That is purposeful. If I'm gonna get a warp, I'm gonna get a warp more at the tip than anywhere else. If I leave extra meat at the tip, then it's like a get out of jail free card. I can probably grind that warp away if I can't straighten it all. So it's just a get out of jail free card. I don't mind distal taper, but I do want a heavier point than I want to be back here at the choil. And as far as thicknesses of the choil, I really don't want to be below much that 85, because if you get below that at this point in your game, you're extremely committed and you have to be perfectly straight. Next two tools that I want to talk to you about are essentially the same tool but used slightly different. And these are flatters. When you're forging a knife and you get done with it, especially when you start out, there are going to be digs and bumps and wows, and it's going to be a black snake. It just is. That's what mine all look like. They look like lumpy turds, but oh well. That was, you know, you get better, you get better. So, but there you have this magic weapon that can be in your arsenal, and it's called a flatter. And if any of you know anything, this is usually what you see when you see a flatter. This is a two-man flatter, and yes, you can use it one man by holding the tongs between your legs or whatever, but that's always painful for me and it never works out. But there's another style, and this is attributed to James Rodaboss. I'm gonna say James came up with it. He's a master smith out west. Anyway, this is a one-man flatter, and what you do with it is you can hold it down on the knife and then strike the knife with your hammer. It does not work as fast as this one when it's working with a sledge, but it gets the job done and it allows you to do it by yourself. That brings us up to the next tools that you need, and we're going to go outside for those. All right, we're outside. Next set of things: needs, wants, don't needs. You need an anvil. This is a really nice anvil. Can't get them anymore, they're out of business. This is a Holland, I hate it. It's my best anvil I've ever owned. However, right behind me is this old NC Tool Cavalry that I've had for well over 30 years, maybe going on 40 now. And it got me through Journeyman and Master Smith, and it's all I needed. And this little fellow right here belonged to my wife's grandfather, and it got him through what he needed. He wasn't a knife maker, but it got him through what he needed. So you need an anvil. Next thing you need is some form of forge. I'm going to show you two of them. And you don't really need either one of these, but you need a forge. You can have a coal-fired forge, coke-fired forge, a gas-fired forge. It doesn't really matter. The thing that matters the most to you is that it is smooth and even and will run at a reliable temperature. Now, this one is a great forge for forging, working hot. It loves to work hot, but that's its downfall. It will only work hot. This one over here is a Zach Tarbell Industries, and this one's bigger than most of you need. This is a 3-burner. He makes 2-in-1 burners. This is a very stable forge, and it will allow you to do everything from make pattern welded steel all the way down to stress relieve a knife at 1300 degrees. This one will not do that. This one will. The advantage of that is it means that you don't have to have a heat treat oven yet. You can get away with doing it all in the forge if you've got a forge that will run reliably at those low temperatures. We're going to talk more and more about that heat treat and those temperatures as time goes by and we get past the forging of the blade and get into the heat treat. All right, one more thing that is a nice to have while we're out here. It's not a gotta have, but it is nice to have, and that is this contraption right here. This is a leg vise. This is a medium small leg vise. There's a much bigger one right over there to replace it. You don't need a great big one, but it is nice to have somewhere to grab that knife to hold it besides you holding onto it with a pair of tongs when you're doing certain work. That's a plus. That's kind of high on a I won't. It's not a gotta have, but it's pretty high on I won't. All right. Last thing that I want to talk about that is a gotta have, and it's right here. As far as on the hot side, when you are making your knife and you've chosen your steel, please quench it in a quenchant, a real quenchant, not canola oil, not peanut oil, not automatic transmission fluid, used motor oil. My God, I've tried everything. I even made the pan of goop once. it was a mistake. It didn't do what I wanted when I wanted, but I didn't know what the steel was. It's using mystery steel. We've talked about not doing that before. Please don't do that. This is a AAA quench oil. This is for something like the 80 CRV2 or 5160. This will not be adequate for the 1075. You need a different one. You need Parks 50, I think just called 50 quench oil now, because Parks Heat Bath is no longer in business. So please get a quench it. Then you need something to quench in. That's up to you. Ammo cans work great. I have 2 tall ammo cans I use. I also have a pipe that I have a bottom welded in that I use, and they're great. You don't need anything fancy, but you do need quench oil. Now, let's talk about things you don't really need. You've already seen some of these in the pan, but we're going to look at them again. You do not need a hydraulic press yet. Are they nice? Oh my God, they're amazing. But you don't need one yet. That's what the flatter does, all right? Next thing, and this is gonna hurt people's feelings, but it's true, you don't need a power hammer yet. You can do everything with hands. Anything that you can do with hands, you can do. Anything you can do with a power hammer, you can do with your hands. It just takes longer. That can be a major benefit to you because guess what? The power hammer makes mistakes faster than you do by hand. All right, next, we're gonna go to the next thing I'm gonna show you that's another want, not need at this time, if you have a forge that will maintain good steady temperatures so that you can do your heat, most of your heat treat in. Got a good forge, you're already ahead of the game. Okay, this is another pretty high on the I want, but doesn't have to have. You can get everything done in the forge for what we're doing right now. And we'll talk about that as we go along. But down the road, I'm betting money you're gonna want some form of heat treat oven. This was kind of, there were a couple of more, but this was kind of like the thing when I bought mine. This is an even heat, it's been great. I have no major complaints about it. It gets very hot on the outside. There are some now that don't get hot on the outside and that ramp up much faster and ramp down much faster. But this is a great heat treat oven. It has served me well for years. This is Journeyman through Master Smith right here. And I've hauled it around for classes. And like, Lord, I have no idea how many knives have been heat treated in that thing. So it's been a great thing, and it removes some doubt. It makes your life simpler. Don't have to have it yet, but eventually I'm guessing you're gonna want one. All right, back to a need. You need something that you can temper your knife in. You're not gonna be able to do that in the forge. You need some way to temper it. You do not need a Frankenstein one like this one that's run by a PID controller and stays within 5 degrees all the time. Just a regular old toaster oven that you have thermometers in that you can check the temperatures in and know where they spike at and where they drop at. 25 degrees on average is about 1 Rockwell point, and that's really more variation than you want. You don't want to be within 1 Rockwell point. You need to know kind of where you are as best you can. So if these things regularly ramp 35 to 40 degrees going up, so that means it goes beyond the temperature that you think it is sometimes by that much, or below the temperature by the temperature you think it is that much. But if you'll hang a couple of cheap oven thermometers in there, that's going to fix your problem. This is not an I need. Sandblast cabinet, not an I need. That's an I want, and I love it, but that's not an I need. So I know I'm keeping you from spending all your money, but this is an I need. Some way to reliably temper your knife. All right, so that's it for this one. A little longer than the last one, but there was more to cover. There will probably be more things that we will add to the list, but these will get you started. These will get you started. It's what you've got to have, things you need. I'm looking at one thing right now that you need that I feel is a need I forgot about. These are another magic trick. These are Kevlar gloves. You can get them at most any blacksmithing supply. These things are amazing. When you're doing your heat treat and you're working with hot steel, I don't like to forge with them on unless I'm at the power hammer, and you certainly can't grind with them, but when you're heat treating and you're moving hot steel around, these things are amazing. You can touch red steel with these for about a second. And when you pull a 600-degree knife out of the quench, you can hold it long enough to get it straight without excessive pain. And that's just an amazing thing. They're only like $30 a pair. At least that's what I paid for the last pair. Now this pair, it's getting on its last legs. They don't really wear out as much as they get loaded with oil, quench oil, and then the heat passes right through them, and I don't know a good way to clean them. So anyway, that was the last thing. Thanks for watching. I hope you come back, and I hope, again, you find this interesting and valuable to you. I guess I'm more interested in you finding it interesting, or more valuable than interesting and entertaining. So thanks a lot. Talk to you next time. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you did, give me the like, follow me, and if you want to help pay for gas and steel, find me on Patreon. Thank y'all.